Welcome to the channel. So today we're going through how to restore heavily oxidized paintwork on a car, and just as importantly how we can try and maintain that finish after the restoration so the paintwork doesn't oxidize again. Right, so firstly I've injured my index finger on my left hand doing some DIY at home. So I've not been able to do any detailing for the last couple of days, taking a little bit of time off work, but that has given me an opportunity to catch up on some videos that I wanted to do for the ceramics detailing YouTube channel. So as I said, we're going to be looking at restoring heavily oxidized paintwork on a vehicle. Going to be using the red MK1 MX5 that we've got behind me. So the history behind this car, I actually first did some paintwork restoration on it about 3 months ago for a customer, but anything like this with heavily oxidized paint, it is really only a temporary solution, and the customer was told that, was asked to carry on the process of protecting the paintwork to stop it oxidizing again using a wax, which is what the customer was capable of doing, but unfortunately after the first coating they failed to do that. What's happened since is the customer has sold the vehicle to one of my twins, Sam. He's really into his old classic cars. He's an apprentice service technician at Jaguar Land Rover, so he's only on an apprentice wage, but this is his first real sort of classic car. Absolutely loves it to death. What it's allowed me to do though is use it almost as a test bed. So I'm going to go through the process, and then obviously I'll talk through what I've done to actually seal this paintwork, which again looks really successful. Right, so a quick look around the car. I'll put an image up of what the car looked like after I restored the paintwork and applied a wax finish. But as you can see, with heavily oxidized paintwork, if you don't maintain that wax finish or sealant finish on the paintwork, it will just start to oxidize again. So it's going back to being heavily oxidized. The rear quarter panels were by far the worst on the car. The doors weren't too bad at all, and the front of the car wasn't too bad, but again, because that wax finish hasn't been maintained, it is starting to oxidize again. Right, so what have I actually done to this vehicle up to now? So obviously I carried out a full paint correction on the vehicle and sealed it with Fusso wax before it was handed back to the customer, and it looked fantastic. As I said, warned the customer that it was only a temporary solution, and in order to maintain any sort of real quality to the paintwork, they had to top up that wax finish on a fairly regular basis, because obviously the paintwork has started to oxidize, which means the substrate that the wax is sat on has been compromised, so the durability of the wax is not going to be as great as it would be on a decent surface finish. So the customer needed to really top that wax up at least every month. They obviously failed to do that, so it started to oxidize again. So what I've actually done is I've taken each panel separately. I've added what I think would be a solution for that particular panel to seal the panel, stop the oxidization from continuing. So each panel has something completely separate on it. I've used polymer sealants, graphene sprays, quick detailing sprays, waxes. Each individual panel has something separate on it. By far the most successful finish which has lasted has been a combination of a wax and then a ceramic coating. So before anybody makes any comments about a ceramic coating can't go on top of a wax, it can, as long as you can try and remove the oils from the wax to allow that ceramic coating to take effect on the actual paintwork itself. That's what I've done, and I'll talk through the process now, and you'll be able to see after 2 months that the actual finish is still very decent. So as I said, each individual panel was treated separately. This particular panel had a graphene coating applied, or a graphene spray coating applied, so it's 303 graphene. Hasn't lasted at all and started to oxidize quite heavily again. The other quarter panel, and as I said, these quarter panels were by far the worst on the car, still looks in great condition, and this was a Fusso Soft99 wax application and then a ceramic coat over the top. So that finish has now lasted 2 months. There is no further oxidization of the paintwork. Again, it's not a permanent solution, but if we can increase the time between applications of a seal finish, that's fantastic. I'm sure this will last at least another couple of months. So doing that process, we lightly polish, apply the wax, isopropyl alcohol wipe down, then the ceramic coating, I think is the way forward until I can find something even better. That's what we're going to do now, just go through that process, and I'll monitor this over the next few months and do some follow-up videos for the YouTube channel. So once I've washed the vehicle, the next stage is to do a very light paint correction process using a polish. So I'm using Menzerner Super Finish, which is 3500. We want to get rid of some of the oxidization, but don't forget we're taking paint off when we're doing that, and we've got very little paint to work with anyway. So a very light correction process to try and bring some of that colour back. So Menzerner 3500 Super Finish and a Lake Country Black finishing pad. So as I said, nothing too aggressive. I've even got out of the shed a really cheap DA polisher which I used years ago, just to show that you don't need expensive kit to do this. So speed wise, looking at about a 4 on this particular model. Just a limited amount of polish and really no pressure at all. We're not looking for miracles here, just trying to create some deep red shine, get rid of some of that oxidization. You're still going to have faded patches, especially in a panel that's as badly oxidized as this is. Okay, so this is not an aggressive step at all. I've even got an old DA polisher out of the shed. Used to use this years ago, just to show that you don't need expensive kit in order to do this. We're just trying to get rid of some of the oxidization and bring back some of that deep red shine if possible. You are still going to get faded patches, especially on a panel that's as oxidized as this is. Just take your time, no real pressure. If you start to get excess amounts of paint on the pad, then you are pressing too hard. So on the final pass, just increasing the speed. We'll try and get a nice polished finish. So as you can see, even going very lightly over the panel, still removing a lot of oxidized paint, so we need to be really careful about that. So next step, a really light IPA wipe down of the panel, just to remove the oils from that polish, so that when we put the wax on, it'll have something to key onto. So next step is the wax coating. As I said, I'm using Fusso Soft99 wax. A good tip is the applicator that comes with the wax. Get that damp before you use it. It'll be a lot easier to apply. So once I've left the wax to cure, the next thing to do is to buff it off initially with one cloth. And I'm not sure if the camera can pick this up, but using a really good quality wax like Fusso brings out that red, that deep red in the paintwork even more intense than just using the polish, which is why I'm using this additional step. Now I know that with the correct treatment the ceramic coat will actually adhere to the wax finish than just using polish on its own. So once I've taken off the excess wax, use a really plush buffing cloth to get a deep gloss finish on the wax. So next stage is another IPA wipe down. So this is really important to get a surface which the ceramic coat will key to. You are going to lose a little bit of this gloss that we've put on, but there is a trade-off between having a really nice looking panel and actually being successful with the ceramic coat, because if the ceramic coat part isn't successful, the wax won't last very long on this really poor surface, and you will end up getting oxidization in the paintwork again quite quickly. Right, so with regard to the ceramic coating, there's no point in me doing this video to show people how they can bring oxidized paint back to life and then seal it if I go and use a pro grade ceramic coating, which is what I would normally do. Take this into the detailing unit and do it there. There's no point in me doing that because it's just pointless. So I want to look at a consumer grade ceramic coat, something that's easy to apply but does have durability as well. And of all the ones I've tried, I haven't tried all of them, but the AvalonKing Armor Shield IX is a really good product as far as I'm concerned anyway. I've done some experiments. I think there's a couple of videos on the YouTube channel. I've done some experiments of actually applying this outside, and it works really well. The only thing I'll have to do with this is once the ceramic coat is on, put it under cover for about 48 hours to stop the rain from getting to it. It's not that warm today, so I'm going to use a 6-minute flash time for this product, but I'll see how it goes anyway. Okay, so once that flash time is up, just want to buff the ceramic coat. So even though I do this for a living, done it many times, I still use a timer for the flash time. Just an old cheap egg timer from the kitchen. So there you go, really simple steps, not only to bring the oxidized paint back up to a decent finish, but also to maintain that finish over a long period of time. So just to recap, we've got to clean the vehicle thoroughly first, then a very light polish. Remember, you're getting rid of oxidized paint, but you're also getting rid of the paint itself, so be very careful with that stage. IPA wipe down then. The wax, I'm using Fusso wax, just use a decent wax, buff it to a really decent finish, then another IPA wipe down to get rid of the oils out of the wax, or as much of the oils as you possibly can, then the ceramic coat. Now I'm going to monitor this over a period of time, and I'll obviously feed that back to the YouTube channel as well, just to see how it does fare, especially through the winter. We're into November now, northwest of England, which can get quite unpleasant, so it's a really good test for this particular vehicle. Please subscribe to the channel, and as usual, if you've enjoyed this particular video, hit the like button. There are plenty more videos coming out over the next couple of months.